Welcome, everybody. It is Friedman Adventures, and we are back at you again, and back by popular demand. We had so many requests, we had to bring back Captain Eddie Leland. Eddie, great to have you back.
Great to have you, Phil.
All right, and Nick Morua. Nick, what's up, man?
How you doing, Phil?
Doing good. Hey, on today's show, we're going to have some of Eddie's stories, Nick's stories. We're going to talk about how fishing changed Nick's life and just expand on it a little bit. But we're also going to ask these two guys, if they were going to go fishing right now, here in December, where would they go? What would they do? What kind of tackle would they use? So we're going to make this really relevant in addition to some great stories, as I'm sure you heard in the last show. One other thing I want to mention, that today at 22nd Street Landing here in San Pedro, we had a drive because we are headed to Mexico next weekend to take toys and food and funds down to the orphanages down there. There's not much of a safety net in Mexico, so Friedman Adventures is going to go down there. And Friedman Adventures, just let me point this out, we're the receptacle. It's all of you who make this happen. And I met some people. There was a gentleman here, Oscar, and if Oscar is listening, Oscar, you are really a special guy. He had me in tears, Eddie. His wife grew up in a Mexican orphanage. He doesn't have a lot of money, and he wrote a check to Casa Estrella Foundation, all-girls orphanage in Rosarito, and the guy was a prince. Beautiful human being. So there we have it. All right, let's get down to business. One more thing. If you have any suggestions on guests or what you'd like to hear on Friedman Adventures, drop us a note anytime. We're wide open to doing what you want us to do. Almost everything. Eddie, what's up?
Another beautiful day in California.
I'll tell you, it was nice to see Tom Durer. Tom Durer is an old captain. You guys go back a long ways together, don't you? Tom has the tradition now, but he's been in this business a long time.
Oh, yeah. I met Tom a long time ago when he had the Matt Walsh, and he ran out of Ports of Call sport fishing, and he helped me all throughout my career with all the other captains.
He's got a funny sense of humor, and he's seen it all. I mean, he was partners with Frank Lopreste back when Frank was just getting going in San Diego.
Yes.
He's an exceptional fisherman, is he?
Yeah, very good fisherman, very knowledgeable, and he's one of those pioneers that kind of jumped into a boat and ran it himself. You know, it took me a long time before I wanted to own my own boat, and then he's taken it to all new different levels.
Yeah, for sure. I think, if I've got it right, he's owned 20 boats in his career.
I'm sure probably more.
Yeah.
One story I remember about Tom, he had this little boat, I forget the name of it, but we were fishing albacore, you know, and he had 4 albacore on his back swim step, and it was almost sinking the boat.
Really?
It was the biggest albacore we had seen in years and years back.
Was that locally or what?
That was locally, yeah.
Oh, that's when those big fish showed up in the
by
channel?
Point Furman, yeah. And he had 4 fish back there, and I think the smallest one was like 67 or 60.
Eddie, you know, for people
pounds.
who weren't around during that time, that was freaking amazing, wasn't
totally
it?
amazing, yeah.
What year was that about?
I think it was around the 80s. I don't know if it was the first El Nino or the second one, but it was just like, I remember one day I had caught like a 59-pound albacore, and that was the smallest one that day. And I was like, you got to be kidding me.
Right, because, I mean, albacore out of San Diego, you typically in early season fish are real small.
Yes.
And then as the season goes on and you get to the fall, they get big, but like big 30, 40 pounds.
Yes.
But this stuff that showed up in the channel that year, and first of all, the proximity to San Pedro.
Yes.
First of all, so close that made it amazing.
Yeah.
But what just blew it all out of proportion was the size of the fish.
Right. They were just humongous. And that was the year that boats were setting records for 70-pounders, and there were big eyes being caught too. I think the big eye, I heard a big eye was on 12 pound, was 110 pounds or something like that.
God almighty.
Yeah, it was just amazing stories.
Did you get out quite often?
Yes, I had my boat then. I was running the city then, and we were catching them. You know, we were only catching 3 or 4, but the hard guys, you know, the first string and all those guys, they're the ones that are really knocking them dead. But we held our own. Yeah. That's amazing. And of course, you're dealing with local fishermen here, and I'm not disparaging them. Yeah. But their tackle's not up to par for a 70-pound albacore, right? Yeah, and we weren't too many 2-speeds. A lot of those fish were caught on newels and regular reels. You know, you earned them. Yeah,
that was an awesome time. Nick, did you get in on that? Is that before your time?
When I first started, I think we got into a good school of them on the El Dorado, but they were the smaller grades.
Yeah,
it was the big stuff wasn't around then. You know, the 20 to 30s up in the 50s, and that was probably the highest that we ever got was the 50-pounders. We didn't get into the really big stuff. But a ton of footballers. And that stuff on light tackle, that was a blast.
I freaking love albacore.
Used to get yelled at, of course, me and Eddie both for fishing the light stuff all the time, What are you doing with a freshwater rod on a saltwater rig? But we did it. We earned it, like you said.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I absolutely love albacore fishing. And part of the reason I brought this up is there is a La Nina brewing right now. And there's some people like Bob Osborne, who's Bob.
Yes.
So he's a fisheries expert.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to kill me because he didn't want me to say this, but he says we are going to have albacore in SoCal this year. It's been moving this way.
Right.
It's up there in the northern Oregon, Washington. It's a moving, but not a big jump. But this La Nina, if it holds, and Osborne says, like when you see a La Nina brewing now, they are notoriously make errors on this. Sometimes they don't come to fruition. But if this thing comes to fruition, Eddie, look out. We could have albacore again. And I mean, can you recall some good albacore days as you think back?
Oh, yeah. I remember when I was probably in my teens, we would go out on the pursuit and, you could get on the Avalon bank, we could always we'd fish for bass in the morning on the way home. We'd make circles around the island and we get anywhere from 10 to maybe 15, 16 albacore every single afternoon.
Okay, so for people who don't know, the Avalon Bank's on the front side of Catalina Island, down east.
Right.
And, that's pretty amazing. Yeah, and that was out of Redondo, right?
Yeah, it was out of Redondo. We troll our feathers, the normal feathers, and you'd have a couple of boat lines in the water. And, you'd hang a couple and you'd get a few fish on the slide and then you'd go home. But kind of neat.
And I also remember, at one time, those guys were dedicated to albacore fishing, the Pursuit and the Real Special.
Right.
Homer Lightfoot running the Real Special, a really talented fisherman, Native American guy.
Yeah.
Had a vision problem with one eye, as I remember.
Yes.
And a talented fisherman.
Yeah.
But Eddie, I can remember, and Nick, I'm a little kid, like probably 12, and I'm on the Pursuit, I believe it was.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, they pull back kind of near Rocky Point, and here comes the Real Special. And I'm just like standing there watching, like, I wonder what's going on here. And they go bow to bow, and they hand like 6 rods over, and then some guy jumps from the other boat onto the Pursuit, and he's going albacore fishing again. He didn't want to miss the boat. I mean, that's hardcore.
That is hardcore.
Sounds like you.
Yeah, well, those guys at 24-hour turnarounds. I remember we'd have enough time to clean the boat, and boom, you're off again. It was
best albacore trip you can ever remember that you were a part of. Where was it? What were the circumstances? Or one of the best?
Believe it or not, it was out of San Diego, and I was on the boat called the Legend, and we went out with a couple guys that we had known, and I think it was in October, and we were fishing around Tanner Banks, and everybody was like, it's over with, we're done, there's no more albacore. And the first stop, we had 80 albacore for like 25 guys, 30 guys. And it was so...
What time of year was that?
In October.
Oh, wow.
It was like, man, it's over with, And we end up catching... I don't remember if we had a limit then. I think that's just when they started the 10-fish limit.
Yeah.
But it was every single person on the boat had 10 fish.
That's amazing.
Including the crew.
Jeez.
It was one of their best trips that they can ever remember. And it was like... They're eating everything you could throw. I remember starting out with 30, and I went straight to 80 pound. And the skipper said, "Don't use 80; they're not going to bite that." Well, I got one on right now, and I was I'm bouncing it over the side.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess they're biting the 80. Keep fishing the 80. Just
great.
Fish a straight circle hook and with sardine, and you could actually literally hold your line over the side about 2 or 3 feet off the stern, and they jump on it right there.
Rick Effinger, who runs Marina del Rey Sport Fishing, Rick?
Yes.
Okay, so Rick and I
together.
went to high school together. When you found a bat ray, like a 90-pound bat ray outside the flagpole at Bishop Montgomery High School, it was either Rick or I who did that. And all the nuns and priests were going like, what is it? Rick and I were famous for hanging
that must have smelled good.
bat rays out there all the time. I hope the statute of limitations has passed by now.
I think you're good.
But Rick and I, and my brother Paul, I believe it was, we were out on our commercial boat, rock cod fishing on Tanner Bank. You mentioned Tanner Bank. And we saw like fish boiling. And it was fall. And we're going like, what is that? So we go driving over there. And we look down. The fish had sunk out. We look down, and there's this giant swirl of tiny boccaccio. Like this, swirling, and albacore freaking going through it. And believe me, you make money rock cod fishing, And, it's good watching those things float. But yeah. I mean, so we're like, frickin', do we have any albacore feathers? Do we have, we started fishing these things and we just wailed on them. We had so much fun. It was so great.
Yeah. That's the thing about albacore. They don't stop.
Yeah, they don't. Best albacore bite you've ever been in, Nick?
I'm going to say just outside of Tanner Banks too. We probably, for the entire boat and crew, probably had about a good 7 to 8 fish apiece.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was on the Qualifier 105 one time, and we had like 200 albacore, and there were guys on there with 20 fish. And I was pretty young then, and I had 3 freaking fish. And to introduce a term to people maybe who don't know it, snake bit.
Yep.
Eddie.
Helmet.
Nick. I watched everybody. I dropped down to lighter line. Like guys are fishing 80 and just like, with a giant hook and they're getting them. I could not get a bite. I don't know what it is. What is that?
Yeah, it's something.
Have you ever had that?
We all get helmet.
Yeah.
Some to know you're a really good fisherman is how good you can fish when you can't get bit.
Yeah.
That's the thing and you just cannot give up. Everybody does it. You can't quit switching. The biggest thing is most of the time when you get helmet, you'll have a rod that isn't right or a reel that isn't right, and then you keep fishing with it. And then the line keeps breaking, the drag doesn't work right, the hook isn't the right size, whatever it is, you got to leave for a few minutes, come back, and get a whole new attitude.
Yeah, absolutely. Joe Chait, I used to fish with Joe a lot. He ran the Conquest, and then he got the Pegasus. And he used to stand in the stern and have a garden hose and just spray it.
Yeah.
And the albacore would flip out over that, man. It was bitching.
When I fished on the Holiday, they had a sprinkler, the sprinkler system, and they put it in the corner. And they had that thing running off the fire hose all the time, off the saltwater system.
Yeah, do you remember the horns on the boat lines down there?
They had a blowhorn on the line, so when the line you had it on a stretch cord, and when the stretch cord straightened out, it pulled the horn.
Yeah.
And man, you didn't have to say hookup.
No, you didn't.
You knew what it was.
But the funny thing about that?
Yeah.
I could be up in the parking lot, I've worked a week straight, and somebody'd sound one of those horns, and you jump up. Do you remember that?
Yeah, just like when you have a drag or you got the clicker on, someone's reel, and you pull it, and you jump every time you look. You're not even fishing sometimes.
No, man. Joe, he used to have, actually, Scott Mizell was his deckhand. J.J. Garrettson was a deckhand in those days. I mean, talk about a great crew.
Yeah.
And Scott Mizell had something called the cranium hook. It was like a 14-0 hook.
Oh,
and we'd dump it back there on 80-pound. The albacore would eat it sometimes.
Now we got another story.
Yeah, go.
Tom Paterno on the after when I sold my vessel or gave my vessel away, the city of Seal Beach, I kind of quit fishing for a while, and one of my friends brought me back to fishing again. So we went with Tom Paterno on the Limitless, and it's a 6-pack Pacifica, like a 55-footer or something. And this Tom Paterno, he had a million sayings. And he was always saying bite, when you get bit. And but what do you call the thing when you're fly fishing, the bobber? Indicator.
What do you call it? Indicator, yeah.
So I was the indicator. So we'd be fishing albacore, and it was the most amazing albacore times because I'd never been on a 6-pack boat. You don't know how they bite till you get on a 6-pack. And we're fishing albacore, and it's 6 o'clock in the morning, and we got 2 trolling rods out, and I won't touch them because I want to get bit, on the slide and stuff. And he'd come down and say, "Are you guys ever going to wind in these albacore?" No. And we were done before we start trolling at 6, and we're done before 7 with 5 people full limits, 50 fish on the boat.
Jeez.
And that happened 4 times in a row.
Wow.
So one day he cut us off. He says, "Okay, we get 10 more fish to catch." And I brought the lift pole for you, Ed. I want to see if you can use this lift pole.
Cool.
So like you said, the 14-aught hook.
Yeah.
And they called the hook a squid.
Yeah.
And it had like a little feather on there.
Right.
And I hadn't used a lift pole since the 70s,
Frickin' bitchin', isn't it?
And this is the 90s, like 97, 98. And I got the lift pole back there, and I got the first fish aboard. I put them on the deck, about 25, 30-pounder. And I lifted 4 fish right in a row, perfect. So my buddy Eric says, "Hey, let me give that a try, And they have another term called getting cornholed.
Yeah, if they get their head on you.
So if you got a big fish on your line and you don't get his head up, he's going to take
You're screwed, man.
You're screwed. So he takes this rod over the side, puts that line in the water, he gets bit, and immediately it just dunks him over the side. I said, don't let go of that thing.
Yeah, right.
So he's shaking this pole like this. He gets it up like that. Then all of a sudden,
Freaking
boom,
awesome.
saws it off on the swim step. Thanks, Eric. You just lost our. So
there's a certain, I mean, when they come up and bite that, you got to keep coming with it, or if they get their head, you're screwed.
So the trick is you watch a fish go
Right.
down. As soon as he's in that motion, you're done.
Yeah, exactly.
If you can bring him back to that motion, you're good. But if he's got his head down, forget about it.
Hey, I'm going to tell you one more funny Joe Chait story. It's off the Albacore thing. And again, we're talking Albacore because there's La Nina's brewing. And if the Albacore show up, remember, you heard it here first. If they don't show up,
don't take
Eddie, shitty prediction
it was my
you made
idea.
there. Joe Chait,
on Eddie.
we were at the Coronado Islands, I think somewhere down below South Kelp Ridge, down there on the rock pile, I think. And Joe anchors the boat, and we're fishing yellows, okay? And we don't catch shit. And there's boats around us that have 30, 40 fish. And Joe, if you know anything about Joe, he's very competitive, and he's one hell of a fisherman. So he gets on the PA, and he says, I'm going to re-anchor, guys. Let's re-anchor. And Bob Alvarez, who filmed for Dan Hernandez for a time, he's a dear friend of mine, still a good friend of mine. We've done a lot of Baja trips together. Bob and I were sitting just outside of the wheelhouse. And Joe moves like 3 feet, seems like, right? And drops his anchor. And Alvarez goes, hey, what the fuck? I mean, was that really worth it? And all of a sudden,
Bendo.
no. Well, out of the way. And he whispered it.
Oh.
And Joe heard it.
Oh,
and all of a sudden you hear, hey, motherfucker, if you fucking think you can run this fucking boat any better, you get your ass. And Alvarez is just like, he's melting down. He's looking at me, and I go, oh, shit, Joe heard it. And so
I think I've heard that before.
And by the way, Bendo, 100 plus on the yellows, because he wasn't exactly where he wanted to be. And that's what I never, ever got down. That's why when I commercially fished, I went to Tannerbank, because Joe Schilling could go out to Volcanic and catch a ton of fish.
Yes.
I couldn't figure it out. So I said, let's just go where there's so many fish that you can't screw this up.
All right.
But that was funny. So if you, let's bring this a little current. We talked enough Albacore. If you have any other stories, we can do it. If you were going to go fishing today, right now, where would you go? What would you do?
San Clement Island.
SCI. Why?
You know what? And I mentioned it briefly earlier. I picked up a lot of light line fishing, working the boats with Eddie Leland, right? And we used to get yelled at all the time for making I don't know how many trips around the boat just to stick one fish, but it was the pleasure of earning that one fish, right, on that light line tackle. So by asking me where would I go right now, and I mentioned SCI, it's because recently my 26-year-old son Nico has really developed a knack for swimbait fishing.
Is that what this is all about here?
That's what this is right here. This is actually a 7-inch Gary Reyes.
7 inch. Wow.
So since you asked about it, let's just talk about this real briefly.
Please.
I'm kind of big on the social media scene. So I actually seen this particular swimbait on Instagram. Okay. And this particular swimbait was a collaboration by Gary Reyes and LA Fishing Alliance down here in Pedro on 6th Street. So when I seen the photo, it was a fairly old photo, okay? And I said, you know what? Let me call the tackle shop and see if they happen to have any left at all. And they were still fairly new at the time. I think Dean was only open for about 2 months, maybe 3 months. And when I called him, he says, yeah, I got a couple, you know. There's a couple of the 7-inch and there's a couple of the 5-inch still here. I said, okay, well, do me a favor and just hold on to them for me. I'll pick them up after work. That's probably, and I'm not exaggerating by saying this to you guys today. That's probably one of the greatest trips that I've made to a tackle shop.
Really?
In my entire fishing history. And I'll touch on that real briefly. It was because not only was it a new shop, but the ambiance and the atmosphere of that shop is what I felt today a majority of tackle shops are missing, you know? And again, I was kind of speaking with the guys earlier before we got onto the show. I'm very unbiased when it comes to tackle shops. I'll visit certain tackle shops for certain equipment, certain kind of line, whether it's hooks, whether it's weights, whether it's swim baits. And when I stepped into Dean's shop, LA Fishing Alliance, it was kind of really welcoming, you know.
Have you been
Dean?
there?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, I haven't either.
Might want to try it.
Dean started talking story with me, and not just fishing story, but he started talking about like life, you know. And that's kind of maybe it's just me. I'm not going to say it's just me because my sons felt the same way, and almost I think from the time that we spend there, every customer that walks in the door feels the same way, you know. They go home with a little bit of something, even if they walk out empty-handed. They sat and they asked, you know, tackle tips. They sat and they watched, you know, YouTube videos that he plays on the screens and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, that Friedman Adventures is playing 24/7.
As a matter of fact,
I love that.
As a matter of fact, when we were on our way up here, I told my son Nico, I said, "Hey, let's stop and let's talk to Dean real quick and just say hi." And he actually asked about the podcast.
Oh, right
So,
on, Dean.
He said, you know, they're local. I told him you're filming here at 22nd Street Landing. He said, let me know as soon as it's out, and he's going to be airing it on his big screen.
Excellent. Dean, you're all right.
He's definitely.
I don't care what Eddie says.
We got to be careful what we say now.
He's definitely all about it. So, you know, again, like I said, I remain unbiased. But anywho, I happened to get my hands on a couple of these weedless swim baits, and so I bought these, and my son seen them, and he went and he bought some. And then I went and I bought another color, and he went and he bought that color, you know. Needless to say, he's probably got about 6 tackle boxes in the last 2 months full of nothing but swim baits.
Yeah.
And what that showed me is that he was dedicated to something, right? And
right.
Eddie kind of mentioned it before we started the show here too, you know. He asked my son, did you get bit down there? And it was just, and he said no, but it was just the fact that he seen how tuned in my son was to fishing that particular bait, right? So I mentioned SCI because there's a lot of surface kelp in that area. And these weedless swim baits on the owner beast hook, you know, you pitch them into pockets, and we're talking about fishing shallow water, light line. That's what I love to do. I mean, when my buddy T from Fish All Brand, who took us out on the boat, mentioned, you know, we're gonna fish deeper water, I was kind of bummed, but but that's where, you know, he said this to me. He said we're battling, you know, we're winning a war that's ongoing. It's never ending, you know, by going out and having a great day on the water, you know, whether it's good vibes, whether it's you stuck 12 fish, whether it's you stuck 24 fish, you know, you're winning it. You're winning the day. So that's what I would recommend to people, you know, fish the weedless baits in the pockets, light line. They're you know, it's winter time. They're a little more finicky. They're line shy. So yeah,
Great tackle tip.
That's what I would say.
All right, great. You know, I'm the exact opposite. People are going to think I'm a jackass, but I like fishing heavy for everything. I'm sorry. I don't know if it's because of commercial days or what.
It's a trend though. It's like
but when I was a kid, it was always like get bit on the 80, like you said. Like I got one on the 80. There's something.
But there's room for light line too.
Absolutely. I'm not disparaging that.
I don't think you really learn how to fish till you catch a fish on light line to see how hard you can pull and what you got to do.
True,
pay attention.
True. Well, I mean, back in the day in the Santa Monica Bay when we used to catch bluefin. Yeah. Remember that trip? I screwed you up? People just check the last episode if you didn't know. But that was all 12-pound fish.
Yeah.
I mean, 12-pound
line, yeah. Guys are fishing as low as 8-pound too.
Yeah, exactly.
8
6 hooks, 8 hooks.
Yep. even 10.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know?
don't get me wrong. You know.
No, I'm just talking about a personal preference.
Yeah,
But-
I'm not trying to say you're a wimp or anything.
Yeah.
no, neither am I.
No.
That's why I checked. You know, see
No.
if you had a license.
I'm
for those
freaking
guns or
90
not.
years old.
The downside of a light line, though, is the 50-pound sea bass, a 40-pound yellowtail.
Let's talk. Well,
Yeah.
since you brought it up, Eddie, let's talk about that sea bass trip that we got on.
Yeah. Let's hear it. You tell it.
I remember.
Are we going to go to jail or something?
I can't,
What's the
no,
problem?
no,
Oh,
I
okay.
can't.
His memory's better than mine.
I can't give specifics, but you know, locations and stuff like that. But I will tell you.
When was this? Like 20 years ago? You're not giving a specific location because they
you-
might still be biting there?
There's no.
Oh, they live there. They ain't going.
Oh,
there.
you guys went in the white sea bass pen. Yeah, I don't blame you for
No,
not
there's
giving
no
that.
secrets in my
Yeah,
fishing.
I
There's
wouldn't-
no
I wouldn't
secrets.
mention that
You
either.
can mention whatever you want. It's all good.
No.
I ain't, you know.
Don't mention it. I'm only kidding. I don't care.
You could mention it. I mean, it doesn't matter to me.
Just
but-
tell us right where it was. It's all good. It's fine.
So we were.
I hope you have a drum roll somewhere out
Yeah,
there.
yeah. Go. You want to.
There we go.
Okay.
There's no secrets anymore.
We were fishing that spot on the backside of Catalina Island.
Jeez, that narrows it down.
That's kind of in between.
Close to Farnsworth.
Ben Weston.
Very
Close to Farnsworth.
Very close.
Now,
Silver
now I
Canyon.
remember
Very
this trip.
close.
Silver
to
Canyon.
Very close to Farnsworth. Sandy Shores. We were actually
Freddy's
fishing,
Beach.
Listen, we were fishing outside of it. Listen, you got to listen to the story.
Okay.
man. It's gonna.
Sorry.
Excuse
Excuse me.
It's gonna be good.
Yes, I'm listening.
Okay.
I'm waiting for it to get good. Just kidding. I keep waiting.
Yeah. So we were actually fishing on the outside, and there was another boat. It was a small 6-pack charter, and you know we're catching small yellows, firecracker yellows, and bass here and there, whitefish here and there, perch here and there. You know, a few species, and I look around and I'm
What boat are you guys on, by the way?
Eddie go? What boat were we
City.
on? The city.
Oh.
Yeah,
We made a
took
special
it-
trip.
We took it for
Oh.
a full day, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, we were
it was
on
a
the
crew
city.
trip?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Combo.
Yeah. So, I look around and Eddie's gone, and I look up in the wheelhouse and he's on the knobbies, you know, he's doing one of these, and then you just hear wind him up. So we wind him up. That boat, whatever they were pulling on, they were done, and they rode off. Pulled the anchor, took off to where they were at, and it was every cast white sea bass. I mean, home guard white sea bass up in the 50, 60 pound.
Ooh, those are
50,
nice
you know.
ones.
So we started, you know, we're throwing what we're using. We're throwing 30 pound, you know, 25 pound, and everyone's just hung. And talk about heavy line, right? So,
Yeah.
So I'm siding with you on this. This is where it gets good.
About time you came around to my way of thinking.
This is where it gets good. We start throwing 60 and 80 at them, and
Nice.
and they're eating it.
I love it.
So we limited out in a matter of probably no more than 30 minutes, and we were back home. You know,
Do you remember it?
wide open white sea bass.
Crazy days.
Yeah, was it crazy? You don't want to. Why are you so lockjaw about this? Talk
We haven't
about it.
fished sea bass for so long, I've forgotten about them.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
You know, my sea bass story. I'll tell you one. We were your buddy, Captain Larry. Captain Larry Moore was running the Phantom,
Wow.
and
That's a while ago.
my ex-wife was 9 months pregnant. Right, so I decided this is a great time to go fishing.
Hell
right? Yeah. So I went fishing on board the Phantom, and Bill Beebe was there. He used to write for the Daily
Yeah.
Breeze. Great
Yeah.
guy, Bill, and Eddie Pacilio, Craig Beaker.
Oh.
Jacobs, Craig was there.
Wow.
And so we get to Cat. I got my biggest sea bass ever. It was just under 70, like 68 something. Larry did a great job. Larry, you're number one, right, Eddie?
Right.
Yeah. And so anyway, but like right in the gray, I get a phone call. It's my dad. And he goes,
Baby's here.
your wife just went to the hospital. And what are you going to do? You know, I go, oh, Dad, you know, we're in a hell of a sea bass bite here.
Did you swim back?
No. Oh my God. I'm so ashamed to admit it. So we kept fishing.
Yeah. That's why you got
And we
divorced,
limited
right?
out. And I came back and I had a new son, Philip, who actually loves this story. He,
Yeah.
thinks he wears it as a badge, you know, that I went fishing when he
Yeah.
was born. But I was actually at Catalina Island the day Philip was born. Caught my biggest sea bass, just under 70.
Jeez.
And we all had just giant fish, but just a phenomenal day with Captain Larry.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's an amazing story.
Have you been on? I mean, was that the best sea bass trip you've ever been on? The one Nick's talking about? Or?
Actually, one of the best trips I've been on before was I was on a boat called the Leland out of 22nd Street Landing. It was a charter boat. And,
Right out of here.
Right out of here. And
Yeah.
I was like, I think I was 14, maybe 15. And my dad got me a job to go out and be a deckhand on the boat, and we went right to Catalina, Silver Canyon, and we made squid. And there was 15 guys on the boat that were probably 70 to 80 years old. And that's when the limit on sea bass was 10. And they got done.
Oh, my God.
They got done in like 2 hours.
Jeez.
And they said, "Do you guys want to catch a few fish?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, sure. We'd love to, sir."
Yeah.
So we had
Yes, sir.
we had 3 of us on there, and we were fishing with straight 60 on a 4-0 with a big jig and squid on it. And we put on another 30 fish
Oh,
in
my
like
God.
40 minutes.
Amazing.
So it was just like a trip that you'll never, and I never had a day like that again. I mean, yeah, I think I saw a couple YouTube videos where they had the guy bouncing sea bass on a boat recently.
Yeah.
These were a good 30, 40 pound size,
Amazing.
30, 35 pounders.
All right, so I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Nick. But first, I'll tell you a little story about, because we were talking to Albacore, and this just came into my head. The first time I rode on a San Diego boat, meaning I didn't pay, right?
Yeah.
You guys that understand that. So I was a pinhead
Is that what you call a hot stick?
not my case. I was a pinhead / deckhand on the Redondo Special. And a guy named Mike Conklin was a deckhand on there. You know Mike?
Him well, yes.
Yeah. Pat, his brother. To Mike and his wife, Robin, took my brother and I under their wing when we were on the Redondo Special. They're super good people.
Yeah.
And I still communicate with them. So Mike, one day I go, "Hey, we want to, these Albacore, man, we want to do this. What's the deal?" And he goes, "Oh, just go down to Fisherman's Landing tonight, stand on the docks. Big guy, Frank Lopreste, runs the searcher. When he walks by, tell him Mike Conklin sent you. You guys go for free."
Wow.
And I'm like, "Really?" And he's like, "Yeah, don't worry about it. Just go do it." And I'm like, to my brother, like, "What the? Are we going to do this?" And he goes, "Yeah, let's try it." So we go down. I swear to God, I can still remember. I'm standing like, frickin', I was just petrified.
Yeah.
And here he comes. I knew what he looked like.
Yeah.
He's a big guy.
Oh, yeah.
And, they're turning and burning, so they don't have time to F off with.
Nope.
So he's coming, my brother goes, do it. And I'm like, okay. So he gets like closer and closer and closer. Then he goes by and I go, shit, I can't do it. I don't know how to do it. I'm afraid to do it.
You didn't go fishing?
Dude, come on. So then he comes back by again and I go, "Excuse me, sir, Mr. Lopreste? Mike Conklin said we could go fishing with you tonight if we helped on the boat." And he looks. He just walks back down on the boat. And we're like, we're effed. We came all the way to San Diego. We're like, 16. Yeah. And so we just kind of like in a depression standing there. And here he comes by. He walks by. And he looks and he goes, "Get your gear on the boat."
Yeah.
And then he kept going up to the ticket office. And we're like, yeah. So that's great. And it opened this whole new world. Norm Kagawa, who owned the Shogun, Leroy were the deckhands. They took us under their wings. Leroy, love you. Norm, love you.
Yeah.
2 good guys. Well, Leroy's going to come on the show sometime. He's got to come on the show because he was a big part of my youth. Right. He was a coach, and a great guy. And then I decked on the searcher a little bit and fished on there and just opened up just a wonderful world.
Yeah.
You know how that is for a kid?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you did for Nick.
Yeah.
Pretty much in the last episode, we talked about that, right?
Yep. It's an amazing feeling, when you got people, what's even a greater feeling is when you revisit it today, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And you tell them how much they meant to you and how much of a part of your life that they helped mold. That's the kicker.
Nick,
right? That's the goods right there.
You know what, Nick? It's funny that you say that because this fishing world, some people would just dismiss it as it's just shitty fishing. What are you so? But as I look back, like that moment that I just described to you, I probably think about that as a more instrumental part of my life than when I graduated from college.
Yeah. I
can hardly remember the graduation ceremony at Loyola, but I can remember that vividly.
Yeah. Because that's that moment where you didn't know if you were going to go fishing. You had no idea what you were going to catch. You didn't even know if you could get on the boat. You didn't know if you had enough courage to talk to the man. And then once you met him he wasn't really nice, but he was what he needed to be.
Right.
Just let me go fishing,
Right,
and then
right.
we'll go from there.
Right.
But you say, and you never know when you go fishing, like what you're going to catch. You're always expecting the biggest, but then your expectations bring it down a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
So everything's a bonus no matter what happens.
Yeah, but with you are the epitome of a guy that doesn't go catching, he goes fishing. Because I think you get as much joy out of a little barred perch as you do out of a big yellowfin tuna.
When we fished the yellowfin croaker by the house that you used to
Jeez.
stay at, it was amazing. Another story, just before we had gone fishing and we caught a bunch of fish for fish tacos for the whole place, and then we had that big fish fry.
Yeah.
And then about 2 months later, I had to get my knees operated on.
Right.
But the day before I got my knees operated on, I had this feeling like the fish are going to bite. I got to go down there. So I call you. Yeah, just come on down. Park over here, Surfside. We go parking down there. But nobody can go fishing that day. So I'm coming down to the shoreline, and remember I told you about the white birds were dipping for a solid half a mile. Never stop dipping.
Yep.
I'm looking in the surf and I'm watching, no BS, I'm watching halibut boil up on the surface. There's schools of anchovies everywhere. I'm running down the beach, tripping, trying to get my line in the water. First thing I do, I'm casting. There's so many freaking birds in the water. A bird gets tangled on my line. I have to untangle him. But as I untangle the bird, the crocodile's in the water and there's a yellowfin tugging away like that. I got to fish for a solid 2.5 hours, nonstop yellowfin, croakers, perch.
Was I there?
Spotfin croaker. You weren't there that day. It was the day you couldn't make it that I told you about.
Yeah. Oh shit, that's
It was
right.
the most.
That's right.
It was, and there was 2 people came down to the beach, and this one guy had his kid. I said, "Dude, you got to come over here. Let your kid catch one fish."
Yeah.
He won't like it. He won't like it. Just let him try it here. I'll catch when he winds in. He winds in. The kid wouldn't let go of the rod for like an hour.
Yeah.
He was just having a blast of his life.
Of course.
And I didn't need to fish anymore. I had already caught like 50 or 60 fish. It was like, I've never seen anything like this,
That's the goods right
Yeah,
there.
it's just
That's the goods.
It's that moment you're always chasing the day you never forget. And
Right.
I like in my mind right now, I can still see those white birds diving, and then watching the fish boil, and it's just like, gosh, crazy.
Surf fishing.
Yeah,
It's probably my favorite because you're the captain. You, like you said, you've got to pay attention to the environment. You've got to decide whether to walk this way or walk that way, where to fish.
and that's where we first met back again. Remember? How
Right.
Yep.
We got in touch.
Yeah.
And then we all started fishing. I told
Yep.
you, look at the white birds. He calls me up a week later. Damn, dude, the white birds were here. We slayed them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
The
Nick,
little turns.
it's kind of how did we meet? I don't even remember.
We actually met on Facebook, and I messaged you and I said, "Hey, let's get together and let's fish sometime." And you invited me over, and
Boy, that
so
was a mistake.
The first time I came down, Eddie wasn't there the first time that I came down, but he was there the second time that I came down to fish with the crew. And I looked over. I said, "Eddie?" He's like,
That's right.
He's like, "Yeah." I said, "They call you Ed?" He's like, "Yeah." And that's where it all came,
Your
came
friendship
back
renewed
together. That's
that,
where it
yeah.
all came back together.
But surf fishing, you love it. You're an expert, really good surf fisherman. What do you like to? You fish a lot of Lucky Craft, don't you?
I fish it all. I fish Lucky Craft. I fish the spoons.
He's a halibut killer.
Yeah. I fish the Carolina rig. I fish a drop shot fluke. Whatever, like Eddie said earlier, you got to constantly be changing, right? If you're using that one rod and your line's constantly popping, or you're using that one rod and your baits that you're throwing at that particular time aren't getting bit, change it up. Try to match the hatch. To Eddie's point, and that's what I did the time that I was down there with when Eddie was there, and I stuck all those halibut.
I think you got 5 fish that day.
Yeah,
Pissed me off.
got 5 halibut, and I think, I don't know, a few yellowfin croaker.
Yeah.
And a couple of barb surf perch on the we call them on the crack bait, which is the Berkeley sandworm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that time? It was me, you. There was like 5 of us. I think Joaquin Espinosa was there from Promar.
Yep.
We were down in the corner and we wailed on him and that was halibut were jumping out of the water. You were there.
Yeah.
that looked like a freaking commercial fishing operation up at Osborne's house at the end of it.
Yeah.
You filleted fish for like...
I filleted fish for an hour and a half. Yeah. And we had enough fish tacos for like 30 guys.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, where'd you get this fish from? Right out there?
I know. But that was every single cast
Every
almost,
single
wasn't
cast.
it?
We'd keep upstaging each guy when the school would move, and you catch, and they were nice fish. Remember, they're all
nice.
decent fish. Yeah.
We fished the Grunion run this year. One day, Patrick came and
we came out.
Yeah,
we came out.
Was that the night Patrick had that? There was some big ass yellowfin croaker.
You called me the next day.
Yeah, that's when my youngest boy Adam, my 11-year-old, was catching the Grunion and handing him off to Patrick.
Yeah,
and he was pinning him on a little dropper loop.
That's what nobody believes. Like, if there's too much bait out there, they're not going to bite it.
Right.
But you got to try.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we were talking about the red crabs. It's like, how could they eat red crabs when there's 10 billion of them out there? I scoop up 5 in a bucket, and I used almost every one of them.
Like on the last episode.
Yeah, in one day. It's like you got to give it a shot.
Osborne, he painted this picture. I said that to him. I go, what's the deal, man? We're fishing with a grunion in a sea of grunion. How does that work? And he goes, well, here's my theory. He always has a theory on it.
It's a simple answer.
The fish swim in, the grunion go like this, and your bait is sitting there, and that yellowfin croaker, whatever predators.
A fish is a
takes
predator.
The easy.
It's just like us. If somebody throws us a candy bar off to the side and there's a machine over there, we're going to take the easy shot, aren't we?
Yeah, right.
And it looks dead, so we're helping it by killing that one.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly what I was going to say right now.
It's so funny.
It starts to, represent a lure in this case. Like you're throwing a lure and trying to mimic something by throwing a lure. When you pin on a grunion, you're handicapping it. So it's a wounded bait fish at that point.
Right.
They're gonna take the easy target.
Did you see that fish I caught this year? Oh, you were there.
I was there. I got a photo with you right in front of Big Fish.
How big was that? Yeah, I've got a witness right here. The largest yellowfin croaker ever taken in the world.
Almost.
Yeah, almost.
Almost.
Not even close, maybe, but
almost.
It was. So you look in the Fish and Game book.
Yeah.
And the length of my fish is the largest yellowfin croaker ever recorded.
Yeah.
So if you want to see that, by the way, it's on Bass Bros on YouTube. There's a video of me catching that fish. Because when I hooked, it's always me. Whenever there's video, it's always me filming Philip and Patrick, my kids. They never film me.
Yeah.
They're the big new heroes, So I got to film their asses all the time.
Yeah.
But I looked at Philip and I go, dude, take your freaking phone out of your pocket. This is a really nice fish. I can tell you that right now. Just film this. So let's see what it is. It's not a ray. It's not.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a halibut. And this freaking yellowfin croaker comes out of the water. It was bitching. How big was that? How many inches was it? 23 or?
I thought you said it was 24.
Almost 24.
Yeah, almost 24. But it looked like one of those red drums almost.
Yeah.
The drums that they catch in the Gulf.
Now you got another story. We're fishing at where are we fishing at? We're fishing by Carlsbad. And Oceanside. I went fishing Oceanside. My aunt had a triplex on there, We go down to the beach, and we've been watching the big old sand crabs, And it's like nothing eats that, Well, we're down towards the jetty, and my cousin. And notoriously though, when you're fishing the surf, if there's one big fish, there's 5. So you got to get in on it, and you got to hone in on somebody. But when you're getting in someone's way, compensate so you don't hurt them.
Yeah, pick up on the drift.
But make sure that you can get a part of it. Well, my cousin hooks we had been catching Corbina, but he hooked one of those big ones, And it's like, I know I got a good one now. So I'm right behind him. I swear I had a sand crab that was the size of a silver dollar.
Really?
And I pinned it with a hook. Just a lot of the guys do all this fancy hooking stuff. When they're biting, you just got to get the bait in the water, but hook it in the middle so it doesn't tumble. So I throw right over him, and I can see his line turning to the east or to the west, and then my line I just casted above him so the line would roll towards his way. Don't get this way, get that way, so we don't get tangled. Sure as heck, same thing. He gets the Corbina, and it's this long. So we're saying what? 16, 17 inches long.
Nice.
And I'm right behind him, and I'm like, dude, I'm on this fish for like 30 minutes. I'm like, what the hell I got here,
You were on it that long?
Yeah.
What pound test?
6 pound.
Oh, okay.
But I couldn't. I'd get a crank on it, and it'd go out. And I'm out into the water into my chest. Finally get this fish up, and I measured it. It was from here to my shoulder. It was a spot fin croaker.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. And then
That's a nice fish.
and then there was
I love those things.
There was 3 people on the beach. By the time we were
Good
done, there was
eating.
10 people on the beach wanting this fish, you know. And I was just like, it was like, God, everything that we said doesn't work. You got to try. And sure as heck, you know,
Big
give it a
bait,
shot.
big fish.
Big bait, big fish, and you got to give it a try. Don't turn anything down. You know, it's like a tomcod or herring. All those things that we forgot about, they work.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, we were down fishing the honey hole one evening, and I was actually
Surfside, or?
I was actually throwing the LC, and wham, I'm hung. And I'm like, oh man, and it's just peeling. I'm thinking halibut because I'm throwing the LC, and get it in probably about 10, 15 feet. Wham, it peels again. Made about 3-4 good runs, and it was that big spot fin croaker.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it was beautiful
Yeah.
fish.
It was a monster.
Gotta love that,
Good
man.
eating.
Eddie.
They're delicious eating.
If you were going to go fishing right now, where would you go? What kind of tackle would you use? Let our audience know what they should be doing here around Christmas time. Besides going on the Friedman Adventures special charter on December 26th, right here at 22nd Street Landing. Go ahead, Eddie.
I think right now I'd like to go to Santa Barbara Island because you got a real good shot at the yellowtail, you know, and
Well, you were recently at Nicholas, Nicholas Island, right?
Yeah. We got a couple yellowtail at Nicholas, but right now it seems like Santa Barbara and Clement too both hold those home guard yellowtail.
And how would you fish for them? Is it a dropper loop? Is it what's the best way?
You know what I fish with now? Now that we've been fishing Santa Barbara, you get busted off a lot, you know. So you got to get on the outside edges of the reefs there, you know. And I fish straight 50-pound Spectra and 50-pound fluorocarbon because I've been busted off so many times now. And the guys we fish with, they've all got the 2-speed reels, you know. And I used to say you don't need a 2-speed reel for yellowtail. You don't need this, you don't need that. But the thing that one of my favorite reels is the Shimano, the 8s and the 10s, you know. And when you cast that reel, it's a little bit difficult, but once you get it down, you know, with a mackerel or a sardine, you can do it. But the main thing is that the drag is so smooth, and the ability, as soon as you hook the fish, to put it in low gear, hold your rod in a position to just keep his head up. If you can visualize a fish's head pointing about 25, 30 degrees down, if you could bring it up to 4 or 5 degrees and just keep that momentum going and focus on that moment.
Bend in the rod or point the rod straight at it?
No, bend in the rod.
Yeah.
But not like doubled over, just a slight bend.
Yeah.
But you're constantly winding that first bit to where a lot of times you can get them where they don't even know they're hooked.
Yeah.
And then you can stop that momentum going to the reef. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, you've got to stop them, right?
Yeah.
Or you're done.
Yeah. And Santa Barbara too, the bass bite in the cooler water there. And you can pull up to places like Subtle and then around the corner, and you can just flip your Worm Kings and whatever you're using.
Have you fished back there at Subtle Rock?
It can be pretty good.
Yeah, it's really good, right?
Yeah, at times too, you'll get like a 8-10 pound sheephead on a Worm King or something like that. Yeah,
right?
it's just fun.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, this last trip that we were on with T from Fish All brand, he actually stuck a lone monster. He stuck like a nice 15-pound sheephead.
Yeah.
Off the bottom. But to Eddie's point about the home guard yellows, and we talk about persistence. My son was throwing a 7-inch weedless Reyes Swimbait. It was a bullfrog colorway, and he was determined to get bit on it, and he stuck a yellow on the weedless Swimbait.
Yeah.
Just
That's the thing,
choked it.
You got to keep fishing. Have confidence in what you're fishing with.
Yeah. Yep.
What's the other lure that we use? The one that looks like the Crappie John jig.
The Gets It, the 2-bait?
No, what's the name for it? The other one though. The newer model.
There's a few. Oh, the ultralight heavyweight or the hookup baits.
Hookup.
Yeah. Those are all similar.
Yeah, I caught this year. I had 5 or 6 yellowtail on that hookup bait. I was really shocked.
They eat the shit out of that.
Yeah, I caught like 10 or 12 calico bass right in a row. The thing about that lure, I hate to say it, but man, that sucker gets bit.
Yeah.
It's shocking.
Yep.
Really?
It really is shocking because
everything eats that.
We use a bigger one. They're very expensive. It can cost you $10 for one of those things, but
they're worth it.
They're worth it.
Yeah.
Because we fished, sand bass to calico bass and
that red crab colorway.
Yeah.
Oh man.
The red crab color one, and then the the yellow one with a little bit of yellow in there. It's just
the brown and yellow.
Yeah, and they soak it in
gold
garlic
flake.
or something, I think.
Yeah.
It has that garlic smell. And I mean, I'm telling you, Phil, you get 40, 50 bites, and you're going, how does this thing keep working?
Wow.
And, it doesn't take a brain surgeon to figure out how to fish it. You throw it out there, and you wind it in, or you bounce it.
Right.
And it just keeps getting bit.
I was going to mention to you, I didn't have time to tell you that we're going to start doing product review and that you were going to be our guy.
Yeah.
Guys like you and Nick who are, shit, you
Yeah.
took the ball. You read my mind. Good
Yeah.
job.
And
That sounds like a good one.
And, I've learned another thing, too, about mustad hooks. Everybody's overlooking that hook, man. Don't.
That's a killer hook.
Yeah.
So yeah, let me focus in on that with you because Philip talked to you before we went on the Amigo on one of
Yeah.
our trips, and he said, Eddie said, we have got to have this hook and this particular brand of fluorocarbon.
Yeah.
So what is that?
Well-
because there's still a little bit of bluefin around, and and you're sold on a
Yeah, the
particular
gold label fluorocarbon. What is it? Cigar.
Seagar.
Yeah, it's they're 40-pound. It's 25% smaller, and it's strong.
Yeah.
And we caught. The last time I went bluefin fishing, I was fishing with a 25, and I swear the 25 looks like 12-pound test.
How's the stretch on the gold label? I use the blue label.
It's a whole different ball game. It's a little bit more money, but I don't even buy anything else now. I just fish with that. You get bit.
Are you convinced that it works?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it got proved to me 3 or 4 or 5 times, and how strong it is. But, if you're fishing reefs and stuff, it's going to break because you're fishing 25.
Right,
But
right.
It's the strongest 25 I've seen, and it's easy to tie a knot. You don't get that little roughness on the knot.
Yeah.
It's smooth.
The burr.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really stretch. It's really minor.
Yeah, I've had tremendous amounts of luck with the blue label. I hadn't had any
Yeah.
problems on the blue label.
I was the same with the blue label, but then I bought
the gold
that.
label is even better.
Have you tried it?
I have
The
not
gold?
tried the gold label,
Yeah.
but
Well,
I'm not opposed
the Fisherman
to it.
Show had them on 2-for-1 sale, so I just what the hell, would just try it,
Yeah.
And it was like those moments where you don't get bit. I was like, damn, dude, I'm getting bit every time now. It's scary,
And
shocking.
are other guys around you who are not fishing it not getting bit?
Yes.
Ooh.
And then
And they're
I'd
good fishermen?
yeah, and I'd switch off, and I wouldn't get bit. I'm like, damn, I got to put that other line back in the water. It's like you don't believe it. I maybe it's confidence too, but. And then that mustad hook, I forget. I think it was the demon hook. That hook is unbelievable. I'm the cheapest dude when it comes to buying hooks, but as far as holding a fish and sharp and holding a bait, the one thing about that demon hook is from the tip down to the barb, it's about probably an inch, and the barb is unlike sorry Gamakatsu. The barb holds your bait, because that's the worst scene is when they're biting really good and you get pick. I hate that.
I do too.
And then
There's nothing worse.
Then one more hook that I really love is the beak hook, the mustad beak hook. It's an offset regular hook, but it's a little bit thicker, and it's just amazing too, especially when you're fishing mackerel or sardine. Because the worst thing too is like when you make that long cast on that sardine and he comes off.
So does that depend too on how you're pinning the bait?
Some of the hooks are so sharp that it won't hold in the fish. Whereas that barb is probably 3 times bigger, the actual piece that holds your...
So to where it peaks out.
Yes. Where the owner seems to be wrapped over. So, once you get the hook in there, it's fine. But keeping a bait on there, especially a fin bait...
Because it's tapered and smoother, it
slides right in, slides right out.
Yep.
Yep. But that's me,
Yeah, personal preference.
Yeah, and I have nobody sponsoring me. I fish with what works for me, and I watch people fish. And I go, man, you just got picked.
Yep.
Yep. Well, I can honestly say I do have a sponsor, and he tells me every day, "Don't drink." Yeah, I know what you mean.
But that's
definitely
that's
sponsored.
a good sponsor, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, that's all. I mean, it's seriously. Steve and I were talking. Steve's the guy that makes all of this possible. Steve,
Thank
you're
you,
the man.
Steve.
Steve and I were talking, and we're saying, we need to start doing product review. Jesus, Eddie.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Good job.
Absolutely.
And what we don't want to do is like, hey, Eddie, make sure you
Yeah.
we don't want to do that.
We remain unbiased. We remain
See, that's the thing.
unbiased.
Everybody makes
Absolutely.
great tackle. You got to pick what you want to use and what works for you, and don't let anybody tell you their tackle is no good, because you have no idea. Different ways of fishing. There's so many that.
Well, to prove a point, when I first started fishing the largemouth bass circuit, freshwater, let's turn the table here really quick. I'm fishing my first tournament at 16 years old with a Bass Pro Shop rod and an Albacore Black Max, and I made that thing work, right? So no, again, I remained unbiased. That's all I could afford at the time.
Yeah.
So you talk about cheap. That's all I could afford at that time, and I'm taking tournaments with whoever I'm fishing with because I'm 16 and I can't afford a boat, right? So I'm the co-partner on the boat, and we're taking tournaments, and again, it was just because you made what you had work for you. So no in particulars when it comes to any type of company or any type of tackle shop or any type of baits, but it's getting what works and making it work for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, talk about making things work. You ever go down to a beach in Mexico and see a kid with the line wrapped around a stick?
Yep.
And they outfish you?
Yep.
I've seen that at all around
Jeez,
the park.
I mean, talk about, that's awesome. I've seen some crazy shit.
Yep.
And you got to admire their dedication and they're just like the confidence thing. You mentioned that. How important is that? Like every time you make a cast, having the confidence that you're going to get a bite, it seems to help.
That's the thing is you never stop casting.
That's right.
You fish until you fish when the skipper moves the boat. Because oftentimes you catch a fish right when he's getting ready to move. Or
the last cast.
Yeah, the thing I hate the most is when someone tells me he hooks a fish, he goes, all right, I know I'm going to lose this. And I'm looking at the guy, I'm going, dude, you can't have that way.
Right.
You've already lost a fish. Just sit there and enjoy it. Yeah, just sit there and enjoy it. If he gets away, he gets away. If he doesn't get away, you catch him. Enjoy it. I think most people don't understand that to have fun fishing.
There was a guy on an Amico charter that we were on. Robert's his name. Incredibly nice gentleman. He goes to Laredo all the time and fishes. And he hooked his first Dorado on the Amigo. And he went up to the bow, and I went up to film the catch because, of course, Philip and Patrick were effing off. And so anyway, I was up there with Robert. And Robert goes, I really don't want to lose this. I really don't. And he's a nice guy. And I go, Robert, you're not going to lose this. Don't worry, man. Relax.
Yeah.
Just pull on the fish. Keep going. Good job. Good job. And I kind of got him to relax a little bit. And he landed this pitching Dorado. And he's just a prince of a guy. Really great guy, Robert. And so, you're right. You can't have in your head.
Yeah.
You can't fight a fish to not lose it. You got to fight it to get it on the boat.
Yeah.
Right? With that confidence. I'm not sure how that confidence helps, though, but there's something weird in every aspect of life.
Well, just
having confidence.
When you play a sport, when you whatever you do, if you have confidence, it seems to happen. I don't know.
Right.
How does a guy hit a home run in a World Series game and he hadn't had a home run and never
all season?
And you watch that ball launch off his bat. He isn't swinging hard. He's just doing his thing. It's just you got to trust yourself, man.
Hey, Tom Durer, we mentioned him. He was here, and he's got a lot of great stories, but maybe Wednesday. I don't know. Am I getting you in trouble?
Maybe we'll see what we can do.
All right,
we'll try.
But we may be going to Santa Barbara Island with Tom on his. What's the name of that boat?
I don't know.
I don't know. No, it's a little 6-pack.
Yeah.
And by the way, Tom is going to start running trips for 4 people to Santa Barbara Island, somewhere around $250 a person. But I mean, only 4 people go all the way to SBI, 2 hours to get there fast, and. Talk about Tom as a fisherman. I mean, does he know that Santa Barbara Island, that little rock out there?
He knows Santa Barbara. I mean, there's so much stuff to fish out there, and it's one of those things where you're not with 1,000 people, and he loves to fish, so you're going to catch some fish. Some days you can't predict nothing, but he knows areas it doesn't take much, and you just be amazed on what you're catching that you never even knew was there.
Oh, I can't wait.
Come
on, we got to go Wednesday, man. Yeah. Steve says we need a Santa Barbara Island video, so we got to go out there and do it.
Let's see what the boss says.
Tom says, and I admire him for this, it's all about customer service.
Oh, yeah.
He wants to treat people right. So he said to me tonight, when a person comes on my boat, if they don't catch a fish, I want them to walk off with a big smile and be happy.
Right.
Yeah. And that's important, right?
Yeah, it's hard to do because, like you said, we hate, when we're skippers running boats, we hate when we don't catch any fish. And sometimes that's kind of why I got out of the industry, because I'd feel bad when someone else didn't catch a fish.
Can I ask you a question? You're up in the wheelhouse, and people downstairs are not catching anything, and you're pulling the anchor, and you hear some guy down there say, Jesus, captain sucks, or he's moving again. What the F?
Yeah.
How does that make you feel? Did you ever stick your head out the window and yell back? Or?
Yeah, and that's when I had to quit running boats because I should never treat anybody that way.
Okay, it gets to you, right?
Oh yeah,
it adds to the pressure. Because
it makes
nobody
it
wants
worse.
to catch fish more than you.
That's right, and then that's why I've seen skippers that don't care about catching fish, so I can relate to that too. But most of the guys that run boats, it eats away at them. It takes days to get rid of it. It's a horrible feeling.
I remember a couple times. And there was some days like that we had on Eddie's boat, and I just you talk about defeating yourself before you're defeated, right?
Yeah.
When you're fighting a fish, but when you get customers that are like that are hooting and hollering and yelling at you, there's been a couple times where when I was working on the boat with Eddie, that after we tied up, he's walking to his car with his head down. And that's when Eddie stepped away from the industry. That's I mean,
you know when you have to get out because it's a lot of problems. You got to deal with seals, you got to deal with conditions, you got to deal with the bait company, you got to deal with the insurance, you got to deal with the Coast Guard, you got to deal with the people, you got to deal with your galley. It's like I can't take this anymore.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I did it because I learned so much how your jobs that you guys have now are so important.
Yeah.
You don't realize. I mean, health insurance and. When you got to do everything yourself, it's not so much fun anymore.
Right.
Because we'd always get that typical customer, oh, this must be great. You're kicking back, relaxing, driving in the sun. I said, yeah, dude, you have no idea.
Right.
But that's when I learned that, okay, now it's time for you to step down.
Yeah. And the other thing that people don't realize is after that hard day's work that you put in and you have all that pressure on you and everything else, then you come back to the real world.
Yep.
And now you got payroll, galley, shopping,
fuel.
All that's fuel. Somebody that called for a charter, somebody that's pissed off about blah.
Yep.
You're dealing with, nowadays I watch Jeff on the Amigo, and when we get into cell phone range, he's just dealing with, okay, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to organize this, I got to organize that. It's 24/7. It consumes your life.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But like I say, it makes you appreciate your life too.
Yeah.
There's nothing like being out in the ocean every day,
Hey, I mentioned that we're heading to Mexico. I'm trying to remember. We went. What did we do at the Rosarito Beach Hotel? Did we take care of kids down there?
Yes, we went to Rosarito Beach. I had my own hotel room that you set up.
Yeah, at the Rosarito Beach Hotel.
Yes, I think we had.
Thanks to Hugo Torres and everybody down there. We love the Rosarito Beach Hotel. It's awesome.
I had so much fun there. I mean, the first day I went there.
Was Dave Dodge there?
No.
Okay.
It was just our group.
Yeah.
And then we took down a couple carloads full of clothes.
Okay.
And we did the little talk about how to take care of the ocean, how to fish, how to tie knots.
Okay, so we had kids on the pier or what?
No, we had the kids out and the pier was closed. Remember, and we had like a little sectioned off area.
Oh, right, surf
3 section,
Yeah,
and then we went out to eat, and they wouldn't let us pay for anything. It was just amazing. The people
was
were
that wasn't when the Laker guys were down, or when Flynn Robinson was down there. No.
No, that's when I went with the guy that got me all the great deals at buying stuff, and I went off to Mexico, like all over the place. You thought he killed me or something?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
You just disappeared.
Yeah, this guy took me to this surf fishing place, and
I didn't want to have to tell Sue that you found a girlfriend down there. Thank God you were fishing.
we're watching these guys fish, and this man and his wife were fishing on the rocks, and you were telling me about how the surf breaks way up on top of those rocks.
Right.
And I'm talking to the guy, I go, you realize that the surf's going to come up pretty good here. You better get your wife out of there. And it wasn't 15 minutes later, a wave broke up on her head, got her all wet, and we got her out of there. And needless to say, we didn't fish that spot anymore.
Oh my God!
But it must have been an 8-foot drop of the water coming up.
How do you like Mexico? Fishing down there, the people, the food, the whole thing.
I love it. Everything was just amazing.
Right.
Every time you turn around, like I got to meet the lady at the bakery, and
yeah,
she says, "Can you give me 50 cents?" And she hands me a tray of these desserts. Can you take it over to the hotel and they'll appreciate you?
Wow.
So those I had 2 trays of
pan dulce.
Everything you can imagine. All their desserts, and the desserts there don't taste like the desserts here. Those taste good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're fresh baked.
All the food.
And then all of a sudden, I've got these desserts, and I've got margarita jugs coming at me, and shrimp from the. Look, I can't take any more of this. It's too nice,
you almost didn't want to go home.
Yeah, it's just amazing how and it just walking around with those people, like you said, you thought the guy was going to murder me or something, but he's taking me to all the places to buy all the things I wanted to buy for the family. Little souvenirs and stuff, and I'm paying,
10 cents.
10 cents on the dollar. Yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh.
If I had a nickel for every kid, like Patrick would say to a schoolmate, "Hey, we want to go to Mexico," and the parents would like, "Oh no,
Yeah.
you can't go to Mexico. You should go to somewhere safe like downtown Los Angeles or Chicago."
Right.
Nothing ever happens in there. And there's never. And if I had a nickel for every kid that went with us, that finally the parents said, "Okay,
Yeah.
please, watch my kid," and the kid gets down there and goes, it's the exact opposite of what everybody says it is.
And you're
it's peaceful, tranquil, beautiful.
You're so
People are
surprised
nice.
too the restaurants and the service, everything. It's like it used to be here 100 years ago. Everybody's nice to you. They're polite to you. They're happy to see you. You know, there's nobody's angry. Everybody's happy.
And there is some damn good fishing down there. You want to go, and I got to get you too. But Diego Nuno runs like a panga, not a panga. It's a Parker, 18-foot Parker out of Ensenada. Picks you up and then takes you. And we've had some bitchin' calico bass fishing along the Baja coast there. We went out to Punta Banda.
I want to definitely
we should
take
go.
that trip with my son. And
you guys would love
just fished all lures.
Yeah, you guys would love it. Hey, I'll tell you, I got to tell you this because it just popped into my head again. This has nothing to do with fishing, but so we did a whole thing with some of the ex-Laker players, and we had 300 orphans come to the Rosarito Beach Hotel. And Flynn Robinson, he's passed away now. My brother, great guy. Love Flynn, played for the Lakers, won a world championship with Wilt Chamberlain. So anyway, we did the whole thing down there, and it was great. It was magical, really magical. Hugo Torres, the owner of the hotel, was grilling hot dogs, and we were trying to, because we were supposed to have 100 kids. So it was, I said, we'll take 3 groups of the 100 kids and we'll run them through what we're doing. My kids were, they thought I said, we
1,000?
want 300 kids.
Oh, gosh.
So we had to run to Smart and Final, get more stuff and everything else.
Oh, you tell them about Smart and Final, though, how they accommodate you?
Yeah.
We go to Smart and Final, and we tell them, they ask, why are you buying so much food? Well, we're doing stuff for the orphanages. So I think they knocked off like 30% right off the bat. And they said, "Oh, you need this for the kids." They don't like that. Get them those chips there.
Yeah.
Get them those.
That.
Yeah, remember, we're like, are you kidding me? Yeah. So pay you less, and then you tell us exactly what they want.
It's so.
And they ate everything we had. It was.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it there. So we're leaving Mexico, and a Tijuana cop. I've rented this giant limo thing or whatever the F it was. I don't know. And I'm driving, and I'm gonna make a left-hand turn and get in the U.S. And this Tijuana cop just goes, "No, go back." And I go, "Officer, oficial." I go, and he goes, "Go back right now." So I pulled into the Smart and Final. There was another one. This is at the border. And I called this guy. No, I better not mention his name. I won't mention his name, but he's with the tourism department. I go, "Hey, seriously, this is bullshit." And I go, "I'm trying to get in. We're late." And he goes, "Go out there and hand the cop the phone." The guy is in the middle of like all this Tijuana traffic. And I go, "Oficial!" And he's like, "What in the F is this freaking gringo?" And I go, I hold my phone. He's just glaring at me. I walk out into all this traffic and I go, "Here," and he goes, "Hello? Sí, señor. Sí, señor. Sí, señor." And he goes, "We'll give you an escort to the border."
Yeah.
And we got a freaking Tijuana motorcycles and everything escort to the border. It was really bitching. It was really cool. But yeah, when you go across that border, man, some people are afraid. I go, "Yeah, I'm in Mexico. I love it, man." And I've been doing it for 50 years and never had a problem.
Yeah, it's a wonderful place.
Yeah, you've got to do the thing with Diego Nuno. You would absolutely love it.
I'm all for it. Yeah. We'll go throw some light line stuff.
Absolutely. So, there. Eddie, going back into your past again, how many boats did you run?
I've probably run about 10 or 12.
Can you name some of those boats?
Yeah.
So people remember those
I worked
boats?
I worked on the City Seal Beach, the Enterprise, the GW.
City Redondo.
Redondo Special, Pursuit, the Voyager, the Cuddy Shark, the boat ride boats
when
out of
Seal Beach. When did you work on the Pursuit? Out of Redondo?
I worked out of Pursuit out of Redondo back in 1973, 4, or 5.
Rick Effinger was on there too.
No, Rick was on the City.
He never went over on the Pursuit?
Not that I can remember. Because I worked with Joe Schilling on the Pursuit, and then I was on a boat called the Mascot 4 on that too. Also,
I remember that. Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
our Bluefin story.
That was our Bluefin story.
Yeah.
But there's been a lot of different boats I've run. I've ran the Maverick. I've second ticketed on the El Dorado, the Tornado, and stuff like that. But mostly I've been local.
Is there one boat
fishing
that is in your heart as the boat, as the experience, as your favorite?
The underdog.
Well, I really like the Enterprise and I really like the Freelance because of what they did, and what we could do. But probably one of my most favorite boats of all time was the Holiday and the Qualifier 105.
Oh, so you're talking about
long range trips, yeah.
And did you fish with Steve Giffen on the Holiday?
Yes.
Yeah, Steve was an incredible fisherman.
Yeah, he was really good. And
Bob Osborne told me that he would, if you were on the wheel, he would demand that every, I think, 15 minutes you wrote down the water temperature.
Yeah.
And you would, keep, and he told Osborne, when Osborne first started working on there, he was a young guy, he said, "You're going to run the boat tonight. If you see fire in the water, wake me."
Roger.
And he said, "Fire in the water? What are you talking about?"
You'll know
And he goes, "You'll know." And
You'll know.
Osborne goes, "Oh shit, I'm seeing fire in the water, like the phosphorescent."
Yep.
And he went,
Big ball of bait.
Steve, wake up. And Steve's like, "What? What is it? What do you want?" Dead tired, beat. Because I'm seeing that fire shit in the water that you talked about. He goes, "Oh shit." And he jumped up, shut him down, and the rest is history.
Yep.
They got bit, man, right on that.
Yeah, we've had a trip on the Holiday. We were done before the
Just
sun
tell
came
people
up.
what we mean by fire in the water and why it's important. And
It's either a big ball of bait because the fluorescence in the ocean stands out and it looks just like a big fire, like a yellowish red ball. And when it happens, it's crazy.
So that's that microplankton that the big ball of bait is eating.
Thank you, Nick.
Or they're just traveling real fast as a whole school.
Yep.
But sometimes it's porpoise. A lot of times you got to be careful what exactly it is. But the best trip I had on the Holiday, we were done before the sun came up, and I had 5 fish in the boat, and not one person woke up yet.
What were you catching?
Albacore.
Oh shoot, night bite.
Yeah, we had left late. We left at 2:00 in the morning because they wanted to fill the last boat. And I think
2:00 in the morning, you guys were fishing in the dark, so you were just what?
We were an hour and a half, 2 hours away from there.
So you're down there not even down to the 3.9, 4:25 or something.
And we got bit at 4 in the morning. I had 5 fish on the boat, and then we woke up everybody. And by the time the sun came up, we were pretty much done.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Have you ever been on those bites? I hate to say this, but you start catching them at night, you're like, shh.
Yep.
Don't let them make too much noise on the deck.
That's like I said, I had 5 fish before anybody woke up. So
right, you're trying to keep it quiet. Which is kind of a shitty thing to do.
Oh, yeah.
But whatever. But you can hear, I can remember being asleep and hearing.
Yep.
And you're kind of still asleep and you hear that and you go, oh shit, there's a fish on the deck, man.
Yeah.
It's still dark out. Let's go.
If you don't wake up when you hear that sound, you need to stay asleep.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's one of two things, too. That's either a wide open bite or a nice deep sonar school,
Yeah.
Surf fishing this time of the year, is it productive, not productive?
Honestly,
would you go? Would you do it?
I would go, but I have not gone. I have not been doing it this year.
Just generally speaking, in your past, have you found that to be productive during this time of the year?
The thing is, you got to fish with live bait though now. Your
live bait meaning
like the worms and the scent or whatever you can find.
Yeah.
You got to fish with bait.
Yeah.
Mussel, whatever. It's tough to get them on the lures, but it only takes one fish to make you happy sometimes. So you keep throwing the crocodile, you're going to get one.
Yeah, one big halibut and you're done. That's pretty much what I throw, the crocodile. Yeah. I just throw because I'm lazy and I just keep hammering at that. You guys freaking blow me away because you're constantly changing. And I wish I were like that more, but I kind of at this point in my life, I might die at any moment.
Yeah.
I'm just out there I'm fishing.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm catching.
Yeah.
Like when we were out on the Amigo here recently, I introduced my boys to fishing the yo-yo 100-pound. And Patrick especially, and Philip, they're in love with that now.
Oh, yeah.
100-pound mono.
Oh,
yeah.
God,
if they take any drag, man, you're a wimp, man. You don't want to do that.
That breaks my heart.
Ooh, there's nothing like that. Hey, boys, I got some really bad news. We're to the end of another show, at least almost to the end. So any parting shots of wisdom that you'd like to leave the Friedman Adventures folks with?
Never let down, never give up.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Eddie?
Help support some people that keep us able to fish. That's it's beginning a problem now where they want to shut down all of our fishing zones. So we got to make sure that we start actually participating now. I haven't been doing it myself.
You know what?
The CCA, all those things, you got to give them $35, whatever they want.
And this is not, if I can expound on that just a little bit, this is not a bunch of greedy fishermen who want to kill every fish in the sea.
No.
We're talking about something, there's a phenomenon called nature deficit disorder.
Yep.
That means kids are on their freaking phones 24/7.
Oh, yeah.
And they don't get out into nature.
Oh, yeah.
And there is a detrimental effect to children in their lives if they don't experience that. And if you don't believe me, read Teddy Roosevelt, because Teddy Roosevelt, I'm going off on a diatribe here for a moment. He was a weak, frail kid, and he went and he spent a summer in Montana. He chopped wood and he hunted and he did all this, and he became a strong guy. And he credits that with everything that followed. Presidency, founder of all these great national. That's why he founded these national parks, because he knew
there's things we need to preserve. Yeah, we need to preserve, but we can't preserve everything, so we can't enjoy anything. I mean, we have to live.
Well, and to make that clear, he did it with the idea. He didn't do it like, let's close this and nobody can ever go. He did it with the idea that the common man, the person that doesn't have a lot of money, could go and experience this, because the rich guy is going to go experience that all the time. Same thing down here.
Yeah.
You know, those things have to be open and accessible to the average common person like us. And if they are, we firmly believe that they're going to improve people's lives.
Yeah, when you give somebody a fighting chance, that's something that goes a long way throughout their life.
Right. Yeah. All right. Thank you, everybody. We are off to Mexico, maybe Santa Barbara Island. Thank everybody who has contributed to our Mexico Fund. We'll have some stuff on that. And don't forget to follow Bass Bros on Instagram and whatever else they're on Facebook. And Friedman Adventures, more importantly, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitchers, and Facebook and Instagram. And I'm repeating myself, Steve. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time for another great show.